Schwartz, and I'm here with Barry Schwartz, no relation, of Dunhill Builders, and we're going to ask him all about building a new home in Vienna. All right, Barry, you ready?
Sure.
All right.
Let's do this.
Why did you get into building houses?
My early career was working in residential development, developing full neighborhoods, and we turned all those lots over to national builders. And I always kind of thought it would be nice to do the full circle, where you can develop the property and do the home construction and turn it over to customers. So ultimately, we just went in that direction.
You get to the joy of seeing the completion and their excitement when they get to move in?
Exactly.
All right. How many houses do you build a year on average?
We only do about 2 to 4 homes a year. We'd like to hit a target of 4 houses, and with the cycles of buying and selling and sometimes permit delays, you know, the market kind of dictates if we can find that next project or not. But we have always tried to keep it small. One of the overarching things you'll see with us is a very personal connection to everything we do and to each of our clients. So we're not big enough to have superintendents running everything. We're actively involved, and keeping it at that small platform really helps that.
That's great. What's your favorite feature that you've ever put into a house?
I'd have to say the favorite feature we put in one of our clients' homes was what we would call a speakeasy. It was a combination of rooms where we had a hidden bookcase entrance to what would have otherwise been an exercise or media room, and it became a little bit of a bar area, but then we added glass doors into space under their front porch, which normally isn't accessible. It's lost and buried in dirt. So we captured not only their bar area, but this glass LED lit wine cellar that was booked as a wine cellar but became much more of a bourbon cellar. And that was
cool.
Probably the neatest thing we've put in a home.
That's really cool. Well, we're sitting in a house you built for yourself. Is there a favorite feature you built in this house?
My favorite feature is one I like to make fun of myself about is we have a nice home theater here. We had one in our old home as well. I used to make fun of people that would put theaters in their home as technology changes so rapidly, but we ended up doing it at our old house. And honestly, for birthdays and kid gatherings and adult sports and movie nights with our neighbors, it's really one of the things we enjoy the most.
Are you a Commanders fan?
My wife is the bigger Commanders fan. I am definitely a Commanders fan, but she puts me to shame in that category.
Got it. Well, too bad you won't have the Super Bowl to watch them in.
That's right. So this weekend she threatened to throw her phone at the screen, which I asked that she wouldn't do that so we wouldn't have to replace it.
This is where I tell you that we're Eagles fans.
So I just drove her to the airport this morning and her LEDs were all green in the car. I'm like, what's going on there?
All right. Is there something that most buyers ask you about building a house that still surprises you?
I think probably the most surprising question we get often, and I can understand why, is single-story houses. A lot of people ask about single-story houses or at least smaller houses, as we all hear the McMansion term. And our answer is probably surprising to folks. We're happy to build whatever a customer wants, but quite often the financial layout of it just doesn't ever make sense. These lots become more and more expensive, and we would build a large rambler for somebody, but we're limited in how much we can put on the lot at one story, so they can't usually get a true owner's environment on top of their living space as well in one floor. And then they can't save as much money as they would expect in that smaller platform because of all the costs of either the land or things that you don't save on even though you're building a smaller product like driveways or kitchens or baths. You're still going to typically have the same quantity of those things.
Interesting. Is there a question that most new build buyers ask you?
I think when we're interviewing people for new builds, custom builds, it's always, it's typically comes with if we want to buy a lot or you have to buy the lot. And a lot of builders have a hard and fast answer for that, that they will only build on their own lot or they will only build on a client's lot. And there are, like anything, positives and negatives about both. Our answer is we're typically willing to do it either way as long as we have some interest in that lot. If we're forced to buy a lot they want, we want to have some interest in it in case they go away. Like
Got
we don't
it.
want to end up owning it. Going down that road, as they start to get their head around it, it always migrates to the process. How does this work? How long does it take? And then, of course, how much does it cost? And those all go hand in hand with custom building. You often don't know the answer to at least the cost part until you're further down the road with their design. And so it's a tougher process for folks.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know in the end what you're going to upgrade and how much that's going to cost, because people go into showrooms and there are shiny things, and suddenly all these things they didn't know they wanted exist.
Exactly. And if you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right, yeah. Okay, is there one piece of advice you'd want someone to know before they meet with the builder?
I think that what I would tell a friend or somebody venturing out into that process is a couple things, but I would say try to think and discuss with your partner what you want to get out of it. You know, try to understand what your goals are. If you're going to interview builders, do you want to find somebody that has the exact house that you want? Do you want to find the cheapest house? Is budget an overarching concern, or is it something else? And what we look for and hope for is something that's completely unrelated to the actual product or cost. And that's really the relationship. And I tell folks we meet with, I know you're going to speak to other people, and you should speak to other people. And I think it often comes down to, when you walk out of that meeting, how did it feel? Did you guys gel? Do you like our approach or their approach? It's a process that requires an immense amount of trust, but it also takes a lot of time interacting with somebody. And if you know from the beginning that you fear that interaction won't be ideal, you know, that's not the direction you want to go in. So that's, you know, we tell people to try to remember things other than the hard and fast things about the home, you know, the square footage and the price and things like that.
All right, my next question is, why Vienna?
Why build in Vienna? I would say by default it's where we were living, but Vienna and the greater, you know, Washington suburbs are just a really solid market that year after year stays desirable. A lot of people have work in the area that doesn't fluctuate. So we see a constant influx of people buying, and living here locally, it's just one of the best choices locally. And we wouldn't specifically build in Vienna and only Vienna, but we find the properties, they're close to where we operate, which makes us feel comfortable. We get to know our clients and, you know, interact with them outside of work. And it got listed as Forbes, #2 town in America.
Yeah.
So all the things that Forbes saw and that the other, you know, articles see, it's got a small town feel, but you're close to all the big things you need, like shopping or hospitals, you know, any of the infrastructure that you need. So
Yep.
it's really the best of all worlds.
All right, and here's my last question for you. Where are people most likely to run into you around town?
So one of my bigger fears is running into our clients and not recognizing them at the grocery store. I'll say it doesn't happen often, but you know, probably at the grocery store, or more likely at any of the great Vienna, you know, local events like Oktoberfest or Chillin' on Church. Just such a large gathering of people that are all local, and I do tend to see a lot of clients who I quite often just refer to as friends. We become pretty close to everybody we work with.
And Barry's also a supporter of a lot of the local organizations and events around town, like Bras. So I want to thank you for that sponsorship.
You're quite welcome. Again,
Yeah.
One of the things about being local is it makes it a lot easier to try. We don't do a lot, but you want to try to give back to the community. And in our case, it's the one we're living in and working in, and our clients are in. And that's where we want to make an impact. So we're pretty happy to try to contribute where we can.
That's awesome. Barry, where can they find you online?
We're at www.buildwithdunhill.com. And you can see a lot of our past work there, interior, exterior, and there's lots of opportunities to connect with us directly.
That's great. Thank you for your time.
You're quite welcome.